Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I really do hope you guys are having a good day. This video should be really educational for me as I think I've experienced both of these, right? Because the title of this video is why North America can't build nice apartments, and the thumbnail is literally depicting what the Europeans would build compared to what the Americans would build. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any recommendations, leave those in the comment section, or preferably click that link that will be in the pinned comment. And it's simply just a reaction request form, and you fill it, and there you go. That's it. And without further ado, let's get right into this video, man.
Quaint walk-up apartments like this one behind me are a beloved feature in cities around the world. They're inviting and full of character. But here in North America, they are not allowed to be built today. Instead, our apartments are big and imposing, often stretching across an entire block. And the reason why really comes down to one reason: staircases. This type of apartment building is called the point access block. Its defining feature is that all its units share one staircase and elevator to the ground floor, which allows for a smaller, skinnier apartment. And these buildings are a common element in some of the most desirable neighborhoods in the world. So why don't we build these apartments here in North America? Well, in Canada and the US, all apartments above 2 or 3 stories need to give their units access to 2 separate staircases. We're some of the only countries across the world that are this strict about this requirement.
Wow.
In most other places, it
I never knew this.
only kicks in after 6 or more stories. And this one rule has huge implications. Staircases take up a lot of space, and fitting 2 of them in a small building means that there's much less usable floor space on every floor. As a result, developers here construct much larger buildings so that the staircases and hallways take up a much smaller proportion of the overall building. It's why apartments in North America in general are much bigger and wider than their European counterparts. Now, I'm not here to fat shame our bulky North American apartments. No, the reason I care about this issue is because this requirement is causing some major problems. For starters, it's making it much more difficult to build more housing. Big buildings require big properties, and in many cases, finding a property large enough for a large apartment requires a land assembly. This is where you convince multiple landowners to sell their properties to you at the same time so that you can combine them into one big lot. As you can imagine, this is a risky process that requires negotiations, legal reviews, and a ton of money. Single staircase buildings, on the other hand, can be much smaller, which means
Honestly, I didn't even know that that's what most of these people do. I thought they just, randomly had a land and it was like, shit, just let's make some houses. That's what I thought. I didn't even know land assembly was a thing.
you can often build them on just one property. I think that makes these buildings an important solution right now, because cities today are increasingly looking to add more housing into their single-family neighborhoods. Properties in these areas are already small to begin with, and I think it'd be very difficult to add more housing at scale without single staircase buildings. But this requirement isn't just making it more difficult to build new housing, it's also limiting the kinds of housing we can build. The reason why comes down to the hallway connecting the 2 staircases. It cuts the building in 2, which means most of the units on either side of it can really only fit 1 bedroom. Let me explain. So this hotel I'm staying at kind of gives you an idea of what that looks like on the ground. I've got access to a stair over there and a stair over there, but what that really means is that the rooms essentially can only have a window on one side of the wall, because there's a unit over there, and there's a unit over there, which is, fine for a hotel room, but for an apartment, this layout can be really challenging to work with. All bedrooms are required.
Yeah, that's actually really insanely challenging. So, I know that my sister had an apartment one time because I was living with her at one point in Florida, right? And I cannot, I could be sure it had multiple windows, but we had it was a real nice apartment. So, but we were at the end. And that's the thing. I don't know what other people were having because we were at the end of the building. So we were at the end, if you know what I mean by the end. Like the building, you're there, right? And we had windows all around. But at the front, the kitchen, bathroom, everywhere else had no window. But the 2-bedroom had window, and the living room obviously had a big, whatever you want to call that thing. So I can definitely see what he's talking about with this, like remembering, because it was one side alone that had windows. Dang. Yeah, he right. So how's it in Europe? Because I've actually never been in one in Europe. Like I have an apartment, but it's a flat, right? And
by law to have a window, and when you only have windows on one side of your apartment, it's challenging to fit any more than 1 or maybe 2 bedrooms into this layout.
Max.
To demonstrate, let's take a look at the floor plan of an apartment in Quebec City. Most of its units only have windows on one wall. In fact, this poor unit only has windows on one corner. And because of that, all these units pretty much have to be 1-bedroom apartments. This is a problem because our cities are facing a major shortage of apartments with 3 or more bedrooms, the kinds of spaces that are better suited for families. In Metro Vancouver, 3-bedroom apartments make up 2% of units in the region's rental market, while studios and 1-bedroom apartments make up almost 75%.
Shit!
And this shortage of family-friendly apartments is where I really see the potential of point access block buildings. When you have one staircase, you don't need a hallway, which means that units can wrap around the staircase in all sorts of different ways. That makes it easier to have more walls with windows, which allows for apartment layouts with more than 1 bedroom. Check out this apartment layout from France. You can see that the single staircase allows for a 3-bedroom unit, 2 2-bedrooms, and 2 1-bedrooms. And you know what else that's good for? Smelly roommates. Having open windows on different sides of an apartment makes it easier for air to move through the unit, which provides natural cooling and ventilation. Another upside of the point access block. I'm going to pause this video for a sec because I'm sure some people will point out that there's this thing called scissor stairs that kind of addresses this issue. This is when 2 stairs crisscross down one column together, effectively taking up less space than 2 separate staircases.
Right.
I don't want to digress too much, so I'm just going to list a few reasons why, in my opinion, scissor stairs aren't a great replacement for single stairs, but feel free to debate me in the comments. So, why do we have this rule? Why does every apartment require 2 staircases? Well, to understand why, we have to go back in history, back to when cities across North America were adopting their first building codes. Back in the day, one of the biggest threats to your life in the city,
I mean, come on, I don't think that's something that is not possible to be changed,
was dying in a fire. That and maybe contracting tuberculosis. In fact, every now and then, an entire city would go up in flames, like Toronto in 1849, Montreal in 1852, Quebec City in 1866.
I don't know, bloody. What did I say bloody for? What the heck? I don't know, buddy, but I think those fires were kind of intentional. But yeah, I get the point though. But most of those fires back then a lot of them were intentional.
Vancouver in 1880, St. John's in 1892, Westminster in 1890, Ottawa in 1900, and Toronto again in 1904. That's why cities across North America began to create robust fire safety regulations like this double staircase rule that's still in effect today. The idea behind it was quite simple. If you're in a building that's on fire, you don't want to be stuck with only one option to get out. What if the staircase is full of smoke or blocked or, on fire? So this was a very understandable rule. It was about our safety. But you might be wondering, why is it then that this rule is so strict in just North America? Well, cities in Asia and Europe had already dealt with this issue centuries before, but their approach was to require buildings to be made of more fireproof materials, like brick and stone. North American cities, on the other hand, were growing quickly, and it was much quicker to build out of wood than to painstakingly lay bricks and stones. Plus, wood was more readily available in North America, and with the invention of the automobile, cities were on the cusp of suburban sprawl, which would put much less pressure on building compact apartment buildings downtown. Sprinkle in a little bit of classism around housing types, and you have our North American compromise for the building code. build with less fireproof materials, but compensate with stricter regulations. So sure, we might have had our suburban sprawl here, but at least we got safer buildings. With this double staircase requirement, we've saved countless of lives, while in the rest of the world, people are still perishing in fires in their single staircase buildings. Take that, Amsterdam. Well, that's not exactly true. As you can see on this chart, the US and Canada don't have the fewest fire deaths per capita, not by a long shot. It turns out there are so many other factors that contribute towards fire safety.
Hold on, run that back.
The US and Canada don't have...
Well, I'm in Finland right now. You on the top of the list, man. What going on? Hold on. Fire Statistics Center, Fire Death Data, United Nations. But, oh, shit. But, oh, yeah. Check me out. Hold on. I told you I'm in Finland, right? You see what that is? So, yeah, I can see why Finland is kind of high on the list, you know what I'm saying? Because they got a lot of wood over here. It's like, it's a woodland, baby. But, I can see why Finland is on that. Like, I've said this before when I came to Finland. I was like, bro, like, this is like the block, bro. Like, this is the United States. What is this? Like, it's for real. Like, there's so many similarities between day-to-day, like, appearances of Finland compared to the United States. Like, flat out, like, literally. But I think the rest of Europe, but what I've heard from Finnish people is that, you know, wars and shit like that caused a lot of issues in Finland. So a lot of the historic or older type structures are gone because of the fire. So yeah, kind of crazy.
The fewest fire deaths per capita.
Not
war. By a long shot. It turns out there are so many other factors that contribute towards fire safety. In fact, It seems like the real success story of our building codes hasn't been so much about helping people escape fires, but preventing them in the first place. For example, regulating the materials buildings are made out of, requiring fire doors, pressurized staircases, sprinklers, fire alarm systems, and fire extinguishers. Today, almost every aspect of your home has been vetted for fire safety. Even your mattress is required by law to be made out of fire-resistant materials.
What are you doing?
Nothing. Those requirements have also coincided with a very important cultural change. In most places, smoking indoors is now prohibited. As a result, building fires have decreased about 50% over the past several decades, and they've become much less severe. So this requirement to have 2 staircases is hardly the most significant improvement we've made to fire safety by a long shot.
Right on.
When it gets in the way of new housing supply and family-sized apartments, it does make you wonder, do we need this rule at all? Well, personally, I think that doing away with this rule altogether would be too drastic. It exists for a reason, and in my opinion, the problem isn't the rule itself, but just how broadly we've applied it. I'll remind you, every apartment in Canada above 2 stories has to follow this rule. We're the only country in the world that is this strict about it, and I think we're missing some important nuance. If you live in a high-rise where hundreds of people need to be evacuated in a fire, I get that having 2 separate stairs would still be really important. But what about a 6-story apartment? Or even a 3-story apartment? In fact, there are a few cities in North America that have made exemptions to this rule. For example, Seattle. In 1977, the city began allowing apartments up to 6 stories to have just 1 staircase, provided they comply with other safety regulations. Today, it's one of the few cities in North America where you can see modern single staircase buildings. And for this video, I wanted to visit one for myself.
Bikes! Can't be serious. Wow. Oh, they do have windows on both sides.
Oh, what?
How
And
much
it just disappears like that.
Nah.
Here in Metro Vancouver, Urbanarium is hosting a design competition to explore what buildings could look like if we changed, updated, or eliminated codes like this one. It's called Decoding Density, and it's intended to imagine new possibilities for 6-story housing forms by challenging codes and building requirements, as well as encouraging ideas that highlight affordability. To find out more and register for the competition, visit decodingdensity.com. There's $44,000 in cash prizes available, and your entry could be featured in an upcoming About Here video. Now, if all this makes you a bit nervous, I get it. After all, these codes are about our safety. But I do want to mention that these codes do change over time as our technology and our understanding of safety evolves. For example,
Thanks.
the BC government recently amended its building code to increase the maximum height of wood buildings from 6 to 12 stories because of innovations in wood construction like mass timber that can make wood stronger and more fire resistant. It's important that we continue to discuss and update these rules.
I don't really like the wood stuff, man. Like, I get it, but I don't really like it. Like, if we're gonna use drywall, I'm cool with that. But, you know, like having an outer, you know, shell that is totally, you know, concrete blocks or whatever the heck you want to call them, I'd rock with that over the whole timber nonsense. Wood.
Changes. So the next time you're at a party or visiting your family or on a date, bring up staircases or fire protection ratings or dead end conditions and elevators. I mean, oh my gosh, so much to talk about elevators.
Nah, it's a good video. I didn't even know that, you know, such a simple thing could cause such a big problem. But I genuinely don't think that the dual is necessary. I think one is enough, and there are so many innovative methods that could be created as an escape, right? That they're used for escapes, right? So create other methods for escape. It's not that big of a deal in my humble opinion, but y'all can let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. And you guys are European, so you should have the solution because you guys do not have this problem. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. But for now, I'm out of here. Peace.